Let me paint you a picture. You have just finished moving into your new flat. Boxes everywhere, keys in your hand, a deposit paid. A contract signed, you did everything right. Read the tenancy agreement, paid on time. Took care of the place like it was your own. And then, 2 years later, moving day comes. And the person who took your money, your trust, and your time decides they are simply not going to give it back. No reason, no explanation, no response to your messages. Just silence. And the quiet assumption that you will do what most people do: accept it, move on, let it go. Today's story is about a woman who did not let it go, who did not accept it, who did not move on until she had taken back every single penny, and then some. Welcome back to Quietly Destroyed. This one is for every person who has ever handed over money to someone they should have been able to trust and watched them walk away with it. Stay with me. The setup: her name on Reddit is Deposit Defender 92. I'll call her Maya. Maya was 26 years old when this story begins, living in Manchester, working as a junior graphic designer at a small creative agency. She had been renting her one-bedroom flat for just under 2 years. Ground floor, Victorian terrace, small garden at the back that she wasn't allowed to use but could see from the kitchen window. The landlord, a man named Gerald, owned several properties across the city. The kind of landlord who presented himself as reasonable and professional right up until the moment he wasn't. Prompt with the contract, pleasant at the viewing, responsive in the beginning. But as the months went on, the cracks started showing. The boiler broke in January. Gerald took 11 days to fix it. 11 days with no heating. In January, in Manchester. Maya documented it, sent emails, chased, followed up. When it was finally fixed, Gerald acted as though he had done her an enormous favor. The bathroom ceiling developed a damp patch in month 8. Maya reported it immediately. Gerald said he would look into it. He looked into it, 5 weeks later, by which point the patch had spread across half the ceiling, and Maya had a chest infection she couldn't shake for 3 weeks. Again, she documented everything. Every email, every message, every date, every photograph. Not because she had a plan yet, but because something in her instinctively knew that one day, this documentation was going to matter. She was right. Part 2. The Betrayal. 6 to 11. After 22 months, Maya decided to move. Better job offer, new city, fresh start. She gave Gerald the required 2 months' notice, in writing, by email, with a red receipt. She spent her final weeks in that flat cleaning it to an obsessive standard, filled every tiny wall hole from picture hooks, steam cleaned the carpets, repainted a small scuff on the wall she had accidentally made with a moving box 18 months earlier. She photographed every single room, every wall, every floor, every appliance, on the day she handed back the keys. Time-stamped, documented, sent to herself by email so the timestamp was verifiable. She handed the keys back on a Friday afternoon. Gerald shook her hand, said the flat looked great, said she had been a model tenant, said she'd have her deposit back within 10 days. Her deposit was £2,000. 10 days passed. Nothing. She emailed. Gerald replied saying there were a few things to check. She asked, what things? No response. 2 weeks later, she emailed again. Gerald replied, this time with a list. Damages, he called them. A stain on the carpet in the bedroom, a mark on the kitchen worktop, general wear and tear charges that totaled £2,040. He wasn't just keeping her deposit. He was asking her to pay him £40 more. Maya sat with that email for a very long time. And then, she opened a new browser tab and started reading. Part 3. The Research, 11 to 1630. Now, this is the part of the story where most people would have done one of two things: Either paid it, reluctantly, furiously, but paid it, or sent an angry email they couldn't back up. Maya did neither. She spent that evening and the entire following weekend reading UK Tenancy Law, the Tenancy Deposit Scheme, the Housing Act 2004, Shelter UK Guidance, Citizens' Advice articles, every government resource she could find. And what she discovered changed everything. In England, a landlord who takes a deposit is legally required to register that deposit with a government-approved tenancy deposit protection scheme within 30 days of receiving it. They are also required to provide the tenant with something called prescribed information, documentation confirming where the deposit is held within the same 30-day window. If they fail to do either of these things, they are in breach of the law, and the consequences are significant. A tenant can take their landlord to court, and the court can order the landlord to pay the tenant a penalty of up to 3 times the original deposit amount. 3 times, on top of returning the full deposit itself. Maya went back through every document Gerald had ever sent her, the tenancy agreement, the initial emails, the deposit receipt, and she searched, very carefully, for any mention of a tenancy deposit protection scheme, any reference number, any scheme name, any documentation at all. There was nothing. Not a single mention. Gerald had taken her £2,000 and never registered it anywhere. She cross-checked on all 3 government-approved schemes, My Deposits, the Deposit Protection Service, and the Tenancy Deposit Scheme. She searched by her address, by her name, by Gerald's name. Nothing. In 22 months, Gerald had never registered her deposit. Not once. Maya closed her laptop, sat back, and for the first time since receiving his email, she smiled. Part 4, 1630 to 2100. The following Monday morning, Maya sent Gerald an email. No anger, no threats, no capital letters, just 4 very calm paragraphs. In the first paragraph, she thanked him for his time and referenced his email regarding the deposit deductions. In the second paragraph, she noted that she had been unable to locate any record of her deposit being registered with a government-approved tenancy deposit protection scheme, and asked him to provide the scheme reference number at his earliest convenience. In the third paragraph, she referenced, very specifically, Section 213 of the Housing Act 2004, and noted, very calmly, that failure to protect a deposit within the required time frame entitled her to make a claim through the county court for a penalty of between 1 and 3 times the deposit amount, in addition to full return of the original deposit. And in the fourth paragraph, she gave him 7 days to return her deposit in full before she proceeded with a formal claim. She signed it with her full name, hit send, made herself a cup of tea, and went to work. Gerald replied in 47 minutes. It was the fastest he had ever responded to anything she had ever sent. He said there had been a misunderstanding, that the deposit had been registered, he would find the reference number, that the damage charges were perhaps a bit high, that he was sure they could sort this out. Maya read every word and replied with 3 sentences. Thank you for your response. I look forward to receiving the scheme reference number and the full deposit return within the 7-day window. If I do not hear from you by date, I will be filing my claim the following morning. Gerald did not find a scheme reference number, because there wasn't one. 5. The result, 2100 to 2330. On day 6, 1 day before her deadline, Maya received a bank transfer, £2,000, her full deposit, returned, without deduction, no damage charges, no carpet stain, no kitchen worktop mark. £2,000, exactly. And that most people would say, is where the story ends. She got her money back. She won. But Maya, quiet, careful, thoroughly researched Maya, had done one more thing that Gerald didn't know about. On the same day she sent that first calm email, she had also filed a formal report with her local council's private rented sector team. Not as a threat, not as leverage, just because it was the right thing to do. Because Gerald didn't just have one property, he had several. And if he hadn't registered Maya's deposit, the chances were strong that he hadn't registered others either. 6 weeks after Maya received her deposit back, she got a message from someone who had found her through a local tenants group on Facebook, a woman who had rented one of Gerald's other properties, who had also never received her deposit protection documentation, and who, after reading Maya's post in the tenants group, had sent Gerald a very similar email and received her money back within 5 days. And then another message from another tenant, and another. By the time Maya posted her full story on Reddit, 4 of Gerald's former tenants had recovered their deposits. And Gerald, according to the final update in Maya's post, was under formal investigation by the local council, facing potential fines that dwarfed every deposit he had ever collected. Maya wrote at the end of her post, "I didn't do any of this to be a hero. I just wanted my £2,000 back. But it turns out, when you take the time to understand your rights, you don't just protect yourself. You accidentally protect everyone who comes after you." Gerald thought Maya was like every other tenant he had taken advantage of, someone who would be frustrated, maybe send a few angry messages, and eventually give up. Because most people do. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know what they're entitled to. They don't know the law exists. They don't know the schemes exist. They don't know that the very thing the landlord is counting on them not knowing is the exact thing that could cost him everything. Maya knew because she spent a weekend reading. That's it. One weekend. £2,000 returned. 4 neighbors helped. 1 landlord investigated. I want to say something directly to anyone listening right now who is in a rental property. In the UK, your landlord is legally required to protect your deposit. You can check this yourself, right now, on the government's official website. It takes about 2 minutes. And if your deposit is not registered, you have rights. Real, legal, enforceable rights. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't. Maya didn't shout, didn't threaten, didn't lose her composure for a single moment. She just read the law, quoted it back, and watched someone who thought they held all the power realize very quickly that they didn't. That is the end of episode 3 here on Quietly Destroyed. If this story helped you, if you're currently dealing with a landlord situation of your own, leave a comment below. Tell me what's happening. The community here might be able to point you in the right direction. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because next week we have a story about a resignation letter so perfectly written that it ended a manager's career before lunchtime on a Friday. You will not want to miss it. I'll see you then. Stay quiet, stay patient, know your rights, and remember, the best revenge is always served cold.